A long wait of 31 years since that magical evening in Melbourne. A heartbreaking loss in the final 4 years ago. It's Mission World Cup 2023 for both Pakistan and New Zealand, looking to end the wait to lay their hands on the trophy. The 5-match ODI contest starting today is a good preparation for the ICC 50-over World Cup coming up later this year.
We are ready for one day.
Runners-up in the last 2 World Cups. We're hungry to win it this year.
Kiwis, watch out. I'm coming at you with my Yorker and Bonsai.
Familiar faces and some fresh personnel have joined the two squads. A spectacular 100 from Mark Chapman helped the visitors draw level the T20 International Series.
Chapman gets to 100 of the highest order.
After the stunning win, the confidence of New Zealand are sky high. Can Pakistan turn things around? The riveting cricket action continues in Pindi, even as the format undergoes a change.
Hello and welcome to Pindi Cricket Stadium. We are back here, but this time it is for the one-day international series. It was a great T20 series between Pakistan and New Zealand. New Zealand managed to level it in that last T20 international. But now we're here for the Dafa News presents KFC one-day international series between both the sides. This is the official schedule of the series between Pakistan and New Zealand. Starting here today in Pindi, there's one more ODI before we move to Karachi for the remaining 3 one-day internationals. Hello and welcome to Inverex Solar Energy Pit Side Show. Now we are back once again. It was a fantastic T20 series, like I said. New Zealand put up a fantastic performance in that last T20 international to level the series. This, though, is a completely different ball game altogether. We're talking about the one-day international series. Remember, we also have an ODI World Cup coming up, so plenty to talk about in this one. The stakes are high, and I've been joined by Arooj Mumtaz and Grant Elliott. Arooj, great to be back in a different format altogether, a format that Pakistan hasn't played much of in the last 1 year. So let's first talk about the adaptability factor. I mean, switching formats. I mean, what are you looking forward to most in this series?
I think, firstly, when you talk about switching and the adaptability factor, every player, every captain that you speak to, they understand it's a professional sport. And I think I'd like to imagine it's a basic mindset shift than anything else, primarily to begin with. For Pakistan, why this is important, that off late, the one-day series have not gone their way. Just a few months ago, New Zealand beat us at home 2-1. So there's a lot of things that we need to adapt. We need to get our combinations right. And for Pakistan, the FTP going forward, we're not quite sure how many more opportunities in terms of planning, strategies, combinations they will get before the World Cup. So these 5 games become extremely important, not just for winning at home, but I think as a lead into the World Cup.
All right, from a New Zealand perspective, Grant, I mean, what a finish to that T20 series. I'm sure they're riding high on confidence from that.
Yeah, I think, you know, you talk about confidence, you talk about the World Cup. There's a lot of variables at play here. One-day cricket, you know, there hasn't been a lot of diet of one-day cricket, and I love the game. I love one-day cricket. I love this format, and there's new players coming in, only a couple, but I think the most significant thing about the confidence here is the confidence with Mark Chapman. Mark Chapman had his suitcases packed. He was going home and then suddenly returned to the hotel after his 100 and he had to check back into the hotel. So smart move from New Zealand. I've never really seen that happen before, where suddenly they've made a selection based on someone's form. And it's fantastic for him. But we talk about the series that New Zealand won in January. New Zealand should be confident for this series. And I think that Pakistan, they've only won 4 games out of 18 in Pakistan since 1984, New Zealand. They won the last series. So they're confident. Pakistan need to find a way.
From a Pakistan perspective, Arooj, couple of changes in the ODI format. There's no Iftikhar Ahmed, there's no Imad Wasim. there's a couple of other guys who have come in. You can have a closer look at what we've got here. Osama Mir is in this side, and then Mohammad Haris was also a late change-up call for Pakistan. I mean, how do you look at the balance of this side?
I mean, for starters, what Grant said, I think thinking on your feet and using your resources, I think there was a huge case of Iftikhar to be put into this, especially with our middle order issues with terms of stabilizing or finishing the innings off. And the form that he's in, if he had to put someone in, Mohammad Haris did get a spot. I don't think that was the player to put in. I really think Iftikhar should have gone in. But there's a few good names that do come in. Osama Mir, I'd love for him to get a game. Abdullah Shafiq comes in, who off late has sort of fallen off a little bit, but he's a good temperament, and he's got a good technique as well. Imam will be important on top with Fakhr and Babar, of course. So again, for me, Pakistan, the brand of cricket they want to play, I think we still sort of lie between a rock and a hard place. We go into our default mode very quickly. We're willing to be aggressive, but it's not consistent. I think that's one takeout in terms of mindset that Pakistan, and when they do that, there's more likely of a chance that they'll come out on top.
From a New Zealand perspective, they've also got plenty of options in that squad for the ODIs. Now, like you said, Chapman is staying now after the kind of series that he had. They decided to stick to him, which was a pretty smart decision on their part. The spinners did so well for New Zealand in these conditions. I mean, how do you overall look at this ODI squad for New Zealand?
Yeah, I think, you know, when I look at the squad, and Aruj was talking about consistency, I think that you need to find a consistent squad. You need to find consistency in the order, and New Zealand have been very good at that. The one variable has been the injury to Kane Williamson. Now obviously they're missing a lot of IPL players. There's 9 players that are missing here from the squad, but this gives them opportunity to try combinations. I think it's a well-balanced squad. You mentioned the spinners. I think the spinners have done a fantastic job. And it's one of the most difficult things is actually, as a New Zealand spinner, to come to these conditions and actually try and adapt to the conditions. We've spoken about adapting, and I don't think New Zealand adapted very well in the first 2 T20 games, but after that, they got into the mix of it. They've only had 2 trainings since they've been here. So it's more of a mental game. And when I look at the Pakistan team, the bowling is world class. But with the batting, when we look at consistency, that's exactly what New Zealand are trying to get. They're trying to get that consistency within their batting order.
Within Pakistan as well, you know, the bowling is world class, and there were errors that were made in that last T20 international, but there's also that opinion, you would like to say, or conjecture around the team that they haven't been able to close out games, the Pakistani bowlers. Why do you think that is the case?
I mean, the execution of plans primarily. I mean, there's a lot that said we go around talking about, say, for someone like a Shaheen Shah Afridi. But there's numbers that add up, and you rightly mentioned that we haven't been able to close out games. Yes, going back to the last T20, Pakistan was easy 15-20 runs short, but having that, we didn't execute our lines and lengths properly. We sort of sometimes flow away in the emotion of the game, and our fielding lets us down. Time and again, our fielding lets us down, and I think that's a huge miss. Mark Chapman's catch could have been the change of the game, and Pakistan could have brought it home quite easily. Wasn't the case. So with our bowling, it dovetails into our fielding a lot of the times, which doesn't get spoken about enough. So we get the runs, but I don't think it's the bowling. Most of the times our batting is slightly short, and our bowling is under the pump to get the job done, and they do get it done time and again.
Fair enough. Mark Chapman then, I mean, dropped on 67 by Shadab Khan, but then he went on to capitalize on that drop so well. What's impressed you the most about him?
I think just his fearless nature of batting. And the challenge for Mark Chapman is, as I said, he was on the plane, he was ready to go home, needed 12 runs and over from over 5, and he probably just thought, you know what, I'm just going to play some shots here. The most impressive thing was the use of feet. He used his feet, and you know, we speak about the Pakistan bowlers and we say, you know, have they been consistent enough? But I think what he did is he went in there with a strategy and he tried to counter that consistency, and he put them under pressure by using his feet. And when the bowlers even tried to go short at him to try and, you know, counter him using his feet, he managed to play that shot where, you know, played it over his head, and they didn't really have an answer. Whether he can play with the same amount of freedom that he played with the other night, because all of a sudden you start thinking, World Cup, I want to be in that team, I've got an opportunity here, how many chances will I get for the one-day side? You know, that plays on your mind as a player when actually all you have to do is go out there, enjoy it, you're in red-hot form, and just watch the ball. So, Chapman, great to see him in the squad.
All right. One thing I can tell you is that the fans were extremely disappointed in that last T20 international who came to watch Pakistan perhaps win. But this is a different story altogether, different format, new side as well. Let's find out what the fans have to say with Mehak.
We're back in Rawalpindi Cricket Stadium where 2 days ago the T20 series concluded, and I'm out here on this bright sunny afternoon where the one-day international series will commence between the men in green and the black caps. Now let's go hear some fans' analysis and see what they're expecting from this first one-day international. अच्छा सबसे पहले तो पाकिस्तान की ODI स्क्वाड में लेफ्ट-हैंडेड बैटर और ओपनर इमामुल हक जो मुझे लगता है एक बहुत ही बेहतरीन एडिशन है स्क्वाड में, वो शामिल हो रहे हैं। तो आपको लगता है कि ऑब्वियसली हमें उनकी कैपेबिलिटीज़ तो पता है, तो आपको लगता है कि वो डिलीवर कर पाएंगे पाकिस्तान के लिए?
बिल्कुल कर पाएंगे। जिस तरह उनका डेब्यू भी आप देखें तो उसमें उन्होंने सेंचुरी किया था, तो आई गेस इट विल बी वेरी गुड फॉर पाकिस्तान कि वो ODIs के अंदर इमामुल हक वुड बी वेरी हेल्पफुल इन द बैटिंग लेग फॉर पाकिस्तान अगेंस्ट द न्यूजीलैंड ODIs। यस।
अच्छा, जो T20 सीरीज़ में स्पेशली आखिरी मैच में जो पाकिस्तान की टीम में जो कमी हम देख रहे थे, तो आपको लगता है कि वो अपनी गलतियों से सीख चुके होंगे और बॉलिंग ज़्यादा स्मार्टली कराएंगे और बैटिंग में भी ऑब्वियसली यू नो एडिशनल बेहतरी लाएंगे?
आई बिलीव यस, क्योंकि हम अगर अपने पाकिस्तानी टीम का पैटर्न देखें तो वो लोग कुछ ना कुछ सीख ही रहे होते हैं एक दूसरे से, और एट द एंड ऑफ द डे टीम वर्क इज़ वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट। तो जितने भी 11 के 11 प्लेयर्स हैं, आई बिलीव कि वो अपनी गलतियों को खुद सुधारना चाहेंगे और बेहतर करना चाहेंगे, क्योंकि हम पाकिस्तान में क्रिकेट फिर से एक दफ़ा शुरू हुआ है, सही से पाकिस्तान के अंदर मैचेस हो रहे हैं, तो आई बिलीव कि हमारी क्रिकेट टीम भी दे विल मेक अस प्राउड एज वेल।
बाबर आजम, आपको लगता है वो अच्छी बैटिंग आज इस 50 ओवर फॉर्मेट में कर सकेंगे?
या बिकॉज बाबर आजम बहुत अच्छे प्लेयर हैं और वो अपने लास्ट मैचेस में भी बहुत बेस्ट दे चुके हैं, एंड आई एम गेसिंग कि वो आज अपना बेस्ट देंगे।
शाहीन शाह अफरीदी, उनकी उम्र भी कम है, हमने देखा कि PSL में भी उन्होंने अपने बैट के साथ अंडर प्रेशर कुछ हमें अच्छी इनिंग्स भी दिखाई थी, तो आपको लगता है कि वो शाहिद अफरीदी की तरह इंटरनेशनल स्टेज पे एक अच्छे ऑलराउंडर बन सकते हैं, कि आपको लगता है उनको सिर्फ अपनी लीथल बॉलिंग पे ही फोकस करना चाहिए?
या शाहीन शाह अफरीदी में बहुत ज़्यादा पोटेंशियल है और वो अपनी बॉलिंग की वजह से एज वी ऑल नो कि वो बहुत फेमस है, और बैटिंग में भी ही इज़ वेरी गुड, सो ही इज़ द बेस्ट प्लेयर।
अच्छा, आप लोग आज मैच देखने आए हैं, तो आप लोग दोनों टीम से क्या एक्सपेक्ट कर रहे हैं परफॉर्मेंस वाइज? आपको लगता है कौन जीतेगा आज का मैच?
अस्सलाम वालेकुम मैम, इंशाल्लाह लास्ट टाइम भी मैच जीता हुआ समझे हार गए थे हम, बट जीत एंड हार जो है वो नसीब की बात है, तो ये है कि इंशाल्लाह यही एक्सपेक्ट कर रहे हैं कि इंशाल्लाह पाकिस्तान विन करेगा, और दोनों के लिए बेस्ट हमारे लिए बेस्ट विशेज़ हैं।
तो आप पाकिस्तान की टीम को फुल ऑन सपोर्ट करने आए हैं?
इंशाल्लाह 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 पाकिस्तान विन करेगा मैम, इंशाल्लाह बहुत टफ टीम है इंशाल्लाह।
Absolutely love the spirit of our fans. They're looking forward to this ODI series, Arooj. Same conditions. I mean, it's Pindi. We've seen what happens in Pindi here. But if you win the toss, are you still of that school of thought that the team should be chasing?
I think talking from purely a Pakistan point of view, and especially in the longer format, teams like to chase, especially if the dew factor comes in later on. And if the ball starts obviously getting wet, then there's an issue, and then you want to chase as well. Pakistan like chasing, and they like knowing what they're chasing, so they sort of seem more structured when they're chasing. When they're setting scores, whether it's in T20 or one-day cricket, we sort of don't know when and how long and how many runs are enough. So I think Pakistan will probably stick to their strengths and get the first game out of the way, and then just see what happens.
All right, on that note, we are ready with the toss. Let's find out what happens. Sikandar Bakht is ready with the two captains.
Toss and pitch report brought to you by Inverex Solar Energy. All right, it's toss time, and it's the first ODI of the 5 games to be played between Pakistan and New Zealand. I've got match referee Chris Broad alongside me. The two captains, of course, Babar Azam and Tom Latham, and Babar has the coin. Heads is the call. And it's gone far away from us.
It's a tail.
Tails it is. Babar, first of all, what are you going to do?
We will bowl first.
Ball first.
Yeah.
Looking at the surface, I mean, you know this is a high-scoring ground. Chasing, you feel, do you factor in your mind also? What are the factors that made you decide to bat second?
To be honest, yes. Second time, do factor over here, and second time much better than first inning, the behave wicket. So yeah, we will try to bowl in the first 10 hours. We are already doing few matches, so we will try to that momentum in this match.
Also, as a captain, gives you a good outing before the World Cup. I know it's still later in the year, but 5 games. That's the only ODI that Pakistan is playing before that.
Yeah, we have 2 big events coming up, so we will try to utilize that matches for that big event. So yeah, looking forward to it.
It's the first game, so I can't really say what team you're playing, but a fair mix of quick, fast bowlers and, of course, yourself in the top in the order.
Yes, our senior fast bowlers, Shaheen, Naseem and Haris is playing, and Shan playing, and Salman Ali Aga and rest of the 2 openers.
Yeah.
And I already tell all the team.
Yeah, of course. Well, have a good one.
Yes, yeah.
Tom, happy batting first?
Yeah, it obviously looks a regional surface. We were going to have a bowl, but I guess we've got a good opportunity first up to put some runs on the board. So, as I said, it looks a pretty decent wicket, so I'm sure it's not going to change too much throughout the innings.
Great finish to the T20 series. This provides you that extra momentum coming into the 50-over version.
Yeah, you're right. Even though it's a change of format, I guess the confidence that the group's got, after that last game, obviously the guys chased really well. Obviously, we've got to set first, but yeah, I guess confidence is really important in group, and I guess we built a little bit of that up over the last couple of games.
Batting first, are you going to move ahead with some score in your mind, or you just follow how it goes through the overs?
Obviously, I think there's been limited games here over the past sort of few years, so I guess for us it's trying to adapt and sort of move quickly with what we think's a past score, and I guess that comes down to our communication as a batting group, so we'll have to wait and see what it looks like.
All right, have a good one.
Cheers, thank you.
Well, we know now that Pakistan have won the toss. They've decided to bowl first. Now, let's talk about the surface. Sana has joined us. Sana, first of all, welcome to you right here in this ODI series. What do you make of this surface here?
Thank you so much, Sikandar. Yes, I think when you see this pitch, there are smaller cracks, more compact cracks when you look at this surface. So I do feel that the spinners might have a bit more say than they had in T20 because it looks more drier and the cracks are a bit smaller.
Now, we've seen some high-scoring games out here. Square is known to, produce high scores. If you happen to see Mark Chapman and how he performed, what do you think made him stand out compared to the other batters from New Zealand?
I think now the batters know that the change of pace is going to be a very important thing. What he did really well is you need a big heart to come down to 150-plus bowler, use your feet and create those lengths. So what he did really well was created that length, and he had an answer for every shot, every ball that was bowled to him.
So now, according to you, a quick one, what lengths or what are the key things that the bowlers should do out here then?
I do think change of pace again, but then you have to take it away from the reach of the batter. So maybe more wider, slow ones, not within the body, and bouncers. Yes, the boundaries are small, but a well-directed bouncer, it's still going to ask important questions from the batters.
Well, we know it's going to be a runs galore. Let's find out how many New Zealand puts up batting first. Toss and pitch report brought to you by Inverex Solar Energy.
Well, Pakistan has won the toss and they have elected to field first. Mark Chapman will be in the 11 today, somebody who dominated the Pakistan bowling in the T20 internationals. Thank you so much for your thoughts, Rooj and Grant Elliott. And now, on that note, we'll be taking a short breather. When we do come back, we'll be having a closer look at the teams and also be joined by a new set of guests. Back on the Inverex Solar Energy Pitch Side Show, and the news from the centre is that Pakistan has won the toss and they have elected to bowl first. We'll obviously be looking at which team Pakistan is playing, and New Zealand has made a couple of changes from their T20 squads as well. I've now been joined by Sana Mir and Mr. Butch. Butch, nice to have you back. You might want to hold your mic though.
It's even better to be back with the microphone in my hand. You see, I go away on holiday for a couple of days and I completely forget how to broadcast. Some might say I didn't know how to do it in the first place.
Anyway, good to have you back. And it's always great to have him back, to be honest, because like I say, he's a local now. Sana, you're the true local.
He has brought smiles on our faces in the first minute.
Okay, can we talk about the cricket now? I think it's fair enough to get on with it. All right, Sana. So Pakistan is playing a different side to the T20 internationals. They've made a couple of, I wouldn't call it changes because it's the first one-day international, but Haris Sohail is not playing. He's struggling with an injury. Then you've got Shan Masood who comes in. What do you make of this 11 that's playing today?
It's a very strong 11 for Pakistan. I think Shan Masood at number 4. He has been waiting patiently for his chance. He has been playing well in domestic cricket as well. But Haris Sohail, you have to feel for him. The moment he comes closer to playing for Pakistan, something happens and then he's out. So yeah, overall the team is good. Salman Ali Agha has been good with his off-spin, with his batting. All the 3 paces are there. So overall a very balanced side for Pakistan.
Let's have a look at the New Zealand team as well and see what changes they've made. Like I said, Mark Chapman is playing. Butch, I'm sure you must have seen what he did in that last T20, not just the last T20 international, the entire series. The fact that New Zealand is playing with a second or third string side, considering most of their players are playing in the IPL, what do you make of this 11?
Yeah, I mean, they've got such incredible strength in depth, New Zealand, considering they're such a small country, such a small population. They always play brilliantly in one-day international cricket. The amount of finals they've made in ICC tournaments, etc. So they have players out there that are very match hardened, despite the fact that they might not be the first guys on the team sheet. Somebody like Mark Chapman. The first time I heard his name was when the guy assassinated John Lennon back in 1980. That was the only Mark Chapman I knew, and then everybody knew his name after the innings he played here in Islamabad. So listen, they've got very, very talented youngsters knocking around, and they are always a team to be feared in ODI cricket.
All right, Sana, what about the Pakistan team? Let's have a look at the 11 that's playing today.
So yeah, the good thing about this new Pakistan team is that they are not short of the left-handers. You have the importance of right and left-hand combination, 2 left-handers at the top. Then comes Babar, then another left-hander in Shan Masood. Then come Rizwan, Salman Ali Agha, and Shadab and Nawaz. They bring a lot of stability and a lot of impetus to this side because they can bowl and they've got proper all-rounders at the bottom and then the 3 paces. Brilliant.
Yeah, it looks like a pretty good side and obviously well led by Babar Azam in the runs department. You're talking about ODI cricket. It seems to be one of his favorite formats because it's a format that he loves to dominate. You look at that average, everything else, and it seems to be working well for him. But enough of cricket about Babar Azam. Let's find out what he's like off the field.
Star Talk, brought to you by Inverex Solar Energy.
मेरे साथ मौजूद हैं पाकिस्तान स्किपर बाबर आजम और हम कुछ मज़े के सवालात इनसे पूछने वाले हैं रैपिड फायर काइंड ऑफ क्वेश्चंस बाबर थैंक यू फॉर योर टाइम सीट थाम के पकड़ने के मैं मुश्किल सवाल पूछने वाली हूँ जल्दी से जवाब देने सबसे पहले बताएं आपका फेवरेट डेंटिस्ट कौन है
टूथब्रश
टूथब्रश ओके देन अच्छा ये बताएं कि 3 सुपर पावर्स अगर आपके पास होती हैं तो वो कौन सी होती रैपिड फायर बाबर
3 सुपर पावर हाँ यार ये बहुत मुश्किल है और
चलिए एक बता दें
कुछ भी नहीं मैं अल्हम्दुलिल्लाह खुश हूँ
टीम में 3 सबसे अच्छे दोस्त
3 का बोलूँगा तो सब दोस्त सारे अच्छे हैं सबके साथ अच्छी बाउंड्री है और वो बताता हूँ मैं 3 मेरे जो हैं इमाम हैं रिजवान और शदाब इनसे ज़्यादा क्लोज हूँ लेकिन बाकी सबके साथ मेरी बॉन्डिंग काफ़ी अच्छी है क्योंकि उनके साथ ऑलमोस्ट वो प्लेयर हैं जो हम इकट्ठे जो 7 सालों से इकट्ठे खेलते आ रहे हैं
ये जो कवर अप स्टेटमेंट थी इसके पीछे की मुस्कुराहट भी आप देख लें 3 फेवरेट डिशेस जो आपको किसी भी वक्त मिल जाए
पास्ता स्टेक सुशी
फ़ोन पे सबसे ज़्यादा किससे बातें करते हैं
फ़ोन पे कम ही बात करता हूँ मैं
क्या बात है
फजूल काम है
फ़ोन पे बात करना फजूल काम है सबसे ज़्यादा फ़ोन पे ऐप्स कौन सी यूज़ करते हैं
ऐप्स इंस्टाग्राम ट्विटर
गाने सुनने का तो शौक है
बहुत
टॉप 3 सॉन्ग्स
कोई एक नहीं है ऑनेस्टली मैं हर किस्म का गाना रखा हूँ दुखी रोमांटिक
बड़े दिल से आवाज़ दुखी
सारे मैंने रखे हुए हैं और मैं उसमें ये नहीं है कि मेरा एक कोई स्पेसिफिक सॉन्ग है जो ऑन द डे मुझे अच्छा लगेगा मैं उसको 2 या 3 बार इच्छा, और कभी-कभी ऐसा होता है 1 हफ्ता चलता है वो, लेकिन वो ये है कि जो अच्छा लगे।
इंडोर क्रिकेट या गली क्रिकेट?
स्ट्रीट गली
क्रिकेट,
क्योंकि मैं गली में बहुत खेला।
फैमिली के साथ टाइम या कोई और फ्रेंचाइज क्रिकेट की लीग खेलने जाएं?
फैमिली को फ्रेंचाइज क्रिकेट
फैमिली को फ्रेंचाइज क्रिकेट में ले जाएं। आखिर में ये बता दें कि सारी दुनिया घूमे, सबसे खूबसूरत मुल्क कौन सा लगा?
न्यूजीलैंड।
पाकिस्तान नहीं?
वहाँ तो रहता हूँ ना। वो तो है ही है, लेकिन न्यूजीलैंड।
बाबर, थैंक यू वेरी मच। ये था बाबर के साथ रैपिड फायर।
Star Talk, brought to you by Inverex Solar Energy.
Yeah, absolutely brilliant to hear the thoughts of Babar Azam. I mean, it seems like he's grown in confidence as well, Sanab, over the years that we've seen him grow and evolve as a cricketer. But you look at him and you hear him now, it just seems like he's grown in stature off the field.
Absolutely, he looks confident, he is happy to have a laugh, and he looks confident because he has answered so many critics. First you talk about not being able to play the left arm spin, then you talk about the strike rates, and he has answered every critic, and I think that brings you a lot of confidence. He has made cemented his place in the T20s, one days, and in the tests, so he's in the top 4 batters in the world, so that will give him a lot of confidence.
And like I said, Butch, this is a format that he loves to bat in. I mean, you look at that average, perhaps best in the world. You must have seen that 100 of his recently against New Zealand in the T20. So how have you seen his career evolve as somebody who's just sort of watching from a neutral perspective?
Well, I mean, I've seen him become sort of one of the fan favourites down in Somerset. You know, he's if he drank cider, they would love him even more down there. He's come out of himself probably because he has that confidence of being able to go around the world, have been respected widely. His average, he's averaging 70 something in his career in ODI cricket. He is #1 undisputed best ODI cricketer in the world. I suppose the only questions for him left really are sort of centred around his captaincy, his leadership, I suppose. And there's always sniping when you're the best player in the world because you're stood up on the highest mountain, right? So everybody can see you and everybody wants to take a shot. But the one thing, I suppose, in his CV is the captaincy. Does he command the Pakistan team out there on the field? Does he make the big calls? Does he make the right calls that can turn them into a side that has got magnificent individual players into one that wins tournaments, wins crunch moments? And that, at the moment, is the only question against him. As a batsman, he's peerless.
I think that is the one thing that he perhaps need a trophy in the cabinet to sort of really get down in the history books, Sana. Otherwise, in terms of batting, he's there.
Absolutely. I've talked to so many ex-cricketers and they say that we have not seen a batter of his caliber even in our era. You talk of the 90s and 2000s. So he has really demanded that respect from everyone. But yes, when you talk about the captaincy, there's still a lot of room for improvement.
All right, we need to see that from Babar as well. That captaincy elevation is what's required. Now we're only moments away from the game. Pakistan is bowling first. We'll see you guys just in a bit.